Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the launch call for Sustain's second Early Career Researcher call. Just a quick overview of the agenda for today. We're going to have a quick welcome and an introduction to the hub and the call by Professor Cameron Pleydell-Pearce. Then an overview of the mentoring and support which is available as part of this call. Then we're going to split the call into two separate breakout rooms to look at the different scope areas that are available. Both these breakout rooms will be recorded, so if you're interested in one presentation from one and one from the other, you should be able to view them in a couple of days' time once we've processed the recordings. And you are welcome to switch breakout rooms during the meeting if you would like to. Then we'll have some times for question and answers at the end before the close of the meeting. I just want to quickly introduce who our ECR scientific leads and development champions are for this call. So we've got Professor Peter Holloman from Swansea University leading the high temperature reactions and kinetics area. Professor Arnold Beckman from Swansea University covering computational modelling and big data. Professor Mark Rainforth from Sheffield University covering characterisation and monitoring and as a development champion for Sheffield. We've got Professor Claire Davis from Warwick University covering metallurgical rules and development champion for Warwick University. And then we've got Dr. Holly Cockings and Dr. Liz Sackett as development champions for Swansea University. And you'll find out a bit more about all these scope areas and the roles of the development champions later on in the call. Just to give you an idea, obviously there'll be a chance to listen to a bit more about the scope today, and there will be some surgery calls happening at the beginning of November. We'll show this slide again later and it'll be up on the website for anyone who would like to make an appointment to talk to anyone about the scope of the call. But without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Professor Cameron Pleydell-Pearce to introduce you to the hub and a little bit more about the scope of the call.
Oh, thank you, and I'm clearly very well organised as I have the PowerPoint, the right PowerPoint at my fingertips. Here it is. There we go. I'm going to do that really annoying thing that everybody does when they say, "Can you hear me? And can you see my slides?" That's not the beginning.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, good. Right. This is probably ranks in my sort of top three most exciting and important calls that we run, as in meetings that we run for Sustain. So this is about the early researcher call. This is a really important part of this project to me. So I'll explain a little about what Sustain is for those of you who aren't familiar with the program, and then perhaps try to sell to you why I think it would be good for you to apply. But just before I do that, this is a really important part of our call because it's really about developing the next generation of researchers and helping you to become more research independent and develop your own track records in the area. And that's because, in my opinion, there's not enough of those opportunities around. And there are too many barriers in the way of people being able to develop their own independent research careers. And this is just Sustain's little contribution for the wider academic community in trying to do that. So what is Sustain? So Sustain stands for Strategic University Steel Technology and Innovation Network, which is why we only say Sustain. But the important word in all of that is the network part. So yes, we're a project that looks, at the moment, the largest single investment in steel fundamental research in the UK. And so we have deliverables against actually conducting our own research packages and things like that, but it's very much a network. So it's about developing the wider community of researchers across the UK for the benefit of the industry and for the researchers themselves. We try to formulate the program around some key visions, ambitions and values. So we have a vision of developing academic leadership within the UK for steel on an international basis. We want to develop a 21st century industry. We better, because it's a 21st century already. We want carbon neutrality and zero waste, and we want to build on that sustainable platform to produce better products through more advanced processing methods. In terms of ambitions, or what we want to actually deliver on in terms of with those technology improvements, it's about becoming internationally leading from a research perspective. We want to drive towards increases in employment by 2030. We want a carbon neutral steel industry by 2040, and that kind of seemed super ambitious when we first wrote the proposal, but now sort of falls increasingly in line with where the global industry, the trajectory of the global industry is heading. And we're looking to try and improve what that means in terms of economic impact to steelmaking to the UK in particular. So, and then finally, and most importantly, and this is important to all of you guys who'd be interested in becoming more closely involved in Sustain, we have some core values as well. We really are trying to be as collaborative and open as possible. And we think that is basically our route to success. This is not a closed shop. This is an opportunity for anybody to engage in whatever way possible. And we try to provide as many opportunities and vehicles for people to do that as we possibly can. We need to make steelmaking fit for a healthy nation. Yeah, we can't continue to produce steel in the ways that we are. And we also need to look at the uses of those materials and how we can use them more efficiently as well once we produce them. We need to improve from the steelmaking perspective for customer focus, but the important one for you guys really, I suppose, is that really responsible innovation and career development is a key pillar of what we're trying to do in the program. So yes, we're trying to deliver research outputs, but we also recognize that the technologies that we're developing will probably be implemented not by me or any of the people who are sort of looking to lead this project at the moment, but by all of you, the younger generation of people who we're going to rely on in terms of actually delivering some of these benefits into the future. So that's kind of what Sustain is about. It started with Swansea University as the hub and spokes at Warwick and Sheffield, and those are the sort of the three main driving institutions behind the program, but we always provide more opportunities for other academic partners to join, and you'll see on the next slide how we've done that. And we're supported by the five main steelmaking producers within the UK, and we look to define challenges that are common to all of them. So some things it's difficult for them to agree on, like on products, because they're quite different. But on the process challenges, there's lots of similarities in the challenges, and that's what we're looking to try and address. And we're always trying to increase this network. So if you are to get more involved in Sustain, yes, there are immediate academic partners, which are the little blue bits on this slide, but we also have a wider range of partners, both in terms of opportunities to drive innovation forward towards commercialization. Those are the grey bits, but also in terms of community engagement and in introducing you to a wider number of potential collaborators and stakeholders. And that's the guys in green, representing some of the trade bodies for key customers of the sector and key representatives of the sector as well. And we try to run as many events and being as inclusive as possible. And here's a lot of pictures of us all being very nice to each other, which is what we would intend to do with you if you get involved, hopefully. In terms of the research that we're doing, we basically have to package quite a large program. So we have to package this up into some nice self-contained chunks to keep an eye on everything, and also to make sure that it's delivering against our two grand challenge aims, which I've already mentioned. And those are the ones at the top. And then we're looking as far as possible then to get cross-cutting activities between all of those different things. But the reason for this slide is really to demonstrate what we're already doing, because if you consider the projects that you might be wanting to pitch into this program, it's probably not a good idea to duplicate exactly what's happening already in the program. It's going to be very difficult. I don't have the time to talk about the detail of each one of these individual projects, but if you go onto the website, the Sustain website, you'll find a lot more information about what's actually happening in any of these, and you can also raise questions about complementarity or otherwise of your ideas with the development champions, scientific leads, or myself. So the important question is, why apply? Why would you bother? I think the first and foremost, the reason is that, as I mentioned at the very top, there's not enough opportunities for early career researchers to develop their own track record in applying for funding, because there's too many barriers in the way. What we've done is we've structured a program where we have sort of 3 to 6 month type projects that fall well within the work areas that or the capabilities that you already have, or projects that you might already be working on, but also are sort of small enough for you to be able to learn on the job without a high level of risk and potential pressure in terms of the delivery of the program. Why then would you want to join our group? Well, we're a very open and collaborative and supportive group, and we try to provide as much support to our community as possible. We will help you, or should be able to help you, with industrial engagement through the sector and its supply chain. and it will help you to develop that track record that you will need, whether you're funded and experienced, whether you're funded or not, to be better at applying for funding in the future and become more successful and develop your own autonomy, enable you to develop your own autonomy in pursuing your own research ideas. And why is that important? It's important because you will have probably more disruptive and potentially transformative ideas than we will. We've been working in the industry for a long time. You know, there's the tendency to get the blinkers on a little bit, and I'm really excited about the opportunities that you might bring forward, or the ideas that you might bring forward that are totally left field, but potentially transformational for the industry. That's what we really need. So in addition to the fact that we want people to take forward the future of this industry and become more engaged with it, we also want your new ideas because they have a strong potential to be better than ours. So in terms of scope, obviously we want things to align to our 2 grand challenges as a project. And then if you look below that in terms of our scientific challenges that we're looking to address in the project, we're looking for things that fit within these 4 areas. So I'm not going to read them out here. I guess the one thing to point out, though, is that if you feel that your idea or the idea that you're looking to push doesn't necessarily naturally fit into any one of these 4, please do discuss this with us, and because it may do, but just not in the way that you think. And if it doesn't at all, then we're also welcoming applications that sit outside of the scope of this, although recognizing that we are trying to fill these boxes in terms of skills and capability and areas that we want to populate. So remember, try to fit inside the boxes, but if you don't think that you exactly do, discuss it with us, and there's still the opportunities to submit. And finally, if you look through the work that we're already doing, try to think about how your ideas are going to be complementary and additional to the activity that's already being funded under Sustain, because we never want to fund exactly the same thing twice. I think EPSRC would give us a bit of a rap on the knuckles for that. So there's a series of citations here from previous applicants. I'm not going to read them all out. You can choose to have a look at some of them yourself, or if you're coming back to look at this on the recording, you can by all means just pause and have a good read of these. But some things that I picked out about this was that, you know, the feedback that we had from both successful and unsuccessful applicants is that the experience is very rewarding and valuable, and gives you a lot of skills and feedback in terms of how you can improve your potential to apply for funding yourselves in the future. It's a really good opportunity to expose your own ideas to criticism, which is the way that we improve them. And this is constructive criticism. As I said, we're a very happy and engaging bunch. And that's proven by the fact that I think the one somewhere in the middle there says that the whole process was enjoyable, despite the fact that we didn't fund them. Yeah. And so I think, you know, this whole process is designed to be a learning process, whether you are actually successful or not. And that should encourage you to apply, because hopefully you get something out of it, even if it's not, unfortunately, on this occasion, the money. And ultimately, this is leading to your own increased independence. So Becky is probably looking at the clock now, telling me that I have to shut up. So I just want to finish on the fact of saying that we've done this once already. So I think some of these guys are on the call, and our first sort of grouping of early career researcher projects are sort of on the board here, from Frank at Warwick, Stephen at Swansea, and Peng over in Sheffield. Really exciting projects, and as you can see from the web link at the bottom, there's more information about that up on the Sustain website. So you can kind of get the idea of that is you can kind of get a feel by looking at those, at what's a reasonable scope, what's a reasonable sort of timeline for the project, and you know what is a sort of a useful chunk of activity to try and take on in the context of one of these calls. So hopefully I've given you a nice overview of what we kind of want from this, what the opportunities are for you, why you might want to get involved, and I'll pass back over to Becky now. In 10 seconds after I've said, this is genuinely the most exciting and important thing that I think that we do within Sustain. From a budgetary perspective, it's not a huge amount of money in the context of the whole program, and for individual awards even, but in terms of what it delivers to the community, it's really important. And in terms of what it can potentially deliver to you, whether you're successful or unsuccessful, it's also really important. So please do apply yourselves and get involved. We'll try to help you as much as we can.
Brilliant, thanks, Cam. I'm just going to share a quick presentation that Dr. Holly Cockings put together about the ECR Mentoring and Support that's available as part of this call. Unfortunately, Holly's in the middle of moving house, so she couldn't be with us to talk through this herself today. Just going to quickly go over the benefits a mentor or development champion can offer as part of the call. So as an applicant, you'll have the opportunity to contact one of the development champions for support. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got Holly and Liz at Swansea, Mark at Sheffield, and Claire at Warwick. And they will be available to talk to you about some of the process of going through this application. I've just got a quick recording from Holly to show you now, which explains a little bit more about the role of the development champions.
So as you know, this call will allow you to apply for PI funding, which is something that would not normally be accessible as a researcher. So this is therefore a huge opportunity for you and your career progression. This call enables researchers to build a platform to launch you into your further funding opportunities, such as fellowships and career progression. So as mentioned, some of those career pathways might include fellowships, academic faculty, senior research positions, all of which will sort of reflect well, this process will reflect well upon. So as I'm sure you know, successful applicants will have the opportunity to develop and manage their own research programme and funding, which is again something that's not normally possible as a researcher. So our role as development champions. So as I mentioned, Liz and I are still both considered quite early career academics, and therefore we've been through things like the recruitment process and the promotion processes quite recently. So we hope to be able to share these experiences with you and discuss how to best channel your professional development. So we're here to help guide you through this process in more of a peer support capacity, as opposed to technical or administrative, right from conception of the project to application and completion if successful. We're also here to help you see the benefits of the process. As Cam mentioned, even if you are unsuccessful, this journey will be a really valuable experience and stand you in good stead in any sort of future applications that you go for. And then upon completion of it all, we will then continue to help and mentor you throughout the project and help aid your future development. So as you
So yeah, there's just a little bit more from Holly there about the roles of the development champions. So on the screen now are the session dates for contacting the different champions. If you'd like to book a session with them, please email the info.sustainsteel@swansea.ac.uk address to book onto one of the sessions. Or if you're unable to make any of these times, please also drop us an email and we can try and sort out an alternative time for you to be able to discuss your development with these champions. These dates and times will also be available on the website after this event as well. So now we're going to move on to the scope presentations. Yeah, obviously, if there's a lot of interest in these, we can look at adding additional sessions if we need more time. And as Lydia said, we'll make sure this comes out in the recordings and available on the website, so you can have a look at any time, or if it gets updated with new times at all. I just want to make everyone aware that all the documents for the call are now available on the website. If you have any trouble accessing these, just send us an email at info.sustainsteel@swansea.ac.uk, and we'll be able to provide you with versions in different formats. If you're struggling, there should be a Word document version of the application form there to make it easy for you to fill in.
I was going to say, if not, go away and think about it, and please do come with questions, because you should have some, because I don't expect everybody to know everything. So either come to the surgeries or come back to us individually with an email with a question. That's absolutely fine. More than happy with that.
Yeah, and if you're not quite sure who to contact, just send it to the info.sustainsteel@swansea.ac.uk email address, and we'll make sure it gets forwarded on to the right person for you, and we get an answer to your query. Okay, brilliant. If there's nothing else, I want to thank you all for coming along today. We'll send out an email in a day or so's time with a link to the recordings, and they'll also be available on the website if you want to see them again. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you to the scientific leads for coming along and presenting and answering questions today.